Okay, so food was amazing. Domino's. Domino's. Thank you for Domino's. Because now I have food on my tummy. Warm food. Because a hotel room does not come with a kitchen. CT does not actually come with a kitchen. I can cook out of CT, but I need to take wood and light it on fire in order to have fire. And now that I'm back in this area, areas to do that are very hard to find because you're only allowed to do that in very, 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 very specific locations. State parks, other parks that have barbecue areas, camping grounds that have camping things or something like that. Once an area as such is located, I would be more than capable of cooking some pretty amazing stuff because I got at least the baselines figured out. But of course, or not always, of course, not to everybody, but I remember, um, can't make a bonfire in a hotel. So, Domino's. Thank you for Domino's. It reminded me of something with the whole chicken wings. I love chicken wings, especially boneless chicken wings. Because then you have no bone to navigate around or distract you with. You can just go nom nom nom, and it's all gone. That's why I enjoy Buffalo Wild Wings so much too. Please go out, go to Buffalo Wild Wings. Make sure the company stays alive. We cannot lose their spicy garlic sauce. Um, Lunch, chicken. During the Super Bowl, something like 1 billion chicken wings, buffalo chicken wings, were going to be prepared and consumed by the nation, I think. There was a statistic that was mentioned over the radio as I was driving towards the airport there at one point. And if you think about 1 billion, billion is crazy big number. There's only very few people in the world that have that kind of money, for example. Like really like a room full of people. Um, Also, it's a good example of how many polyps are in a coral culture, depending on how big the coral culture is, because polyps is something that happens on a very small scale. It still wouldn't be billions, probably even millions, maybe thousands, but billions. If you're talking billions of chickens, imagine how many chickens that is. That's why it's important that animals are viewed as phenotype extensions. Because with this chicken wing example, just as an example, going back to previous examples, regarding the Super Bowl chicken wing, I'm sure, pretty sure, in the country you can find two distinct camps. And yes, everything in the middle is possible. It doesn't mean that everybody gets their own way. Because sooner or later you have to make a decision. Am I eating a chicken wing during the Super Bowl or not? It will come down to that. Dealing with the chicken wing Super Bowl paradox. A smelly hippie, no offense, smelly hippies, I like you guys. Most of my recon guys are smelly hippies, and I tell them that too, to their face. Hey man, I think you're a smelly hippie, but you're cool. Um, think billions of chicken wings is terrible for the planet because of the way chickens are then kept. Absolutely. Because you shouldn't keep hundreds of animals on a tiny little confined space where they're quite literally pooping on each other's head because it's so small and little and confined. Slavery. It's a chicken. But you shouldn't treat your extensions that way because if you wouldn't do it to one of your pets, then you shouldn't do it to another animal. So the hippies kind of have a point. You You shouldn't keep that many animals together in that kind of a confined space for long periods of times. And just because somebody wants to throw a leather ball thingy across the field once a year while everybody is watching, that doesn't mean we need to kill more of these creatures in order to sacrifice. Smelly hippies, I hope you feel supported. Because I love chicken wings. The counter to the smelly hippie is, first of all, tradition. Super Bowl is one of the few things that this country enjoys all together at the same time, like Christmas. We'll get to that on another video. So, the Super Bowl needs to be treated with respect. What's important during the Super Bowl? Super Bowl parties, where people come together and they make traditional kinds of food and wings, and that's finger food. And the first finger food that comes into anybody's mind, even the smelly hippies, because they copied their tofu whatever wings from something. When they were little, they were eating chicken wings, and then they decided, no, this is not a good idea. And now they're breeding other little hippies that think that's not a good idea from the beginning. That's great, go for it. But you still need to make sure that your little hippies understand that other side, which is this is tradition. It's important for us to once a year celebrate the Super Bowl. This is a traditional food. Traditions lay the foundation in our history in a different way. Because if everything was always laid up to laws, things would be way more screwed now than they already are. Because laws are. Ask any lawyer. It's a sport for them, especially a good lawyer. Because at the end of the day, it's philosophically impossible to create an ironclad contract. You can't. Can't guarantee things like that. The only difference is with a contract or liability things. Question becomes, who can cover their butt better? Sign here, make sure you read this, yes, I make sure I read this, and then at the end you see. And if anything goes wrong, then nobody has to think twice. That's the thing. Nobody has to think twice. You'll be able to see in the paperwork which one is wrong and which one is right. But because each party is going to think more about their own part of paperwork, then people start arguing about paperwork. And that quite literally changes the fabric of reality and time and everything altogether. And I'm glad for that, because without that, would not have met the man in the middle. And the man in the middle is really important to us. And while I talk a lot about crazy things and a lot about things where it seems like I contradict myself, the man in the middle needs to explain to somebody important. I don't know what that means. I'm structuring together my reality out of movies and everything like that. So for me, important person that needs to hear about this, for example, would be President of the United States. Yes, Trump. But probably best Trump with Hillary along there with it, because man in the middle is important for both of them. And it doesn't affect you now, won't affect your children, won't affect your children's children, or even the generation after that. But the man in the middle is something that they missed. They would like to discuss that with somebody important. Not trying to dangle that around, it's like a big mystery for everybody to try to figure out or something like that. If you ever meet me in person, please don't ask me about the man in the middle, because depending on how it's explained and what light it's thrown under, it can seem really, really nice, or really, really scary, or it doesn't matter at all, or this, or that, or that. It goes like with everything else, it goes off in so many directions. And this is something that's really kind of important. So that needs to be discussed at a level where people are used to dealing with populations on a global scale. So that's just maybe something like 10 minutes of your life gone. Not really sure where I started in this video because my memory isn't linear like that. If you ask me right now to recite everything that I just said again, I wouldn't be able to. Not in the least bit. That's why I've been video recording myself so much from the beginning. Because I watch my own videos a lot. So I can string it together and keep everything together. This is how I'm organizing myself. I used to have people that helped me with this too. At least passively. But then they became less and less reliable. So then what to do? That little bit of music in the background is to help me relax because I would really much rather be driving right now. But internet and all that, and food too, of course. So I'm gonna eat a little bit more, practice my dexterity a little bit, and then I hope people start going for walks soon because the weather outside is gorgeous.